The XRP community has been lighting up Twitter upon the news that an XRP spot ETF through Rex Osprey was just approved, which now opens the doors for conservative investors to get XRP exposure through their retirements, through fund managers, and many more methods that were not prior available. This truly is massive news, but then why hasn't the price popped up to new all-time highs yet? Well, because although the news surrounding the ETF is true, it's not entirely true, at least not at the current moment, and multiple reports say an XRP ETF from Rex Osprey is now targeting September 18th after a short delay. Analysts have been discussing in the fine print and with this structure twist behind the launch, which we're going to be breaking down what's actually going on and how this is going to affect the price in the upcoming week and why the timing is such a big deal. And it's not just Rex Osprey either. Creators and other accounts are tracking the countdown and the filings in real time. And one detailed thread lays out the path that got us here, which I'll show you what they spotted and what we might be missing. But many are calling for at least a $10 XRP by December upon all of these ETFs. Even over on Polymarket, XRP spot ETF odds of 2025 have climbed to a new high of a whopping 96%. In other words, it's nearly impossible we don't get an ETF this year. And a catalyst like this has the potential to push price well into the double digits in 2026 through Wall Street demand. Not only that, but this is helpful because Bitcoin ETFs are basically showing what the path looks like forward moving into an XRP ETF. As Bitcoin ETFs posted another run of strong inflows. When that kind of money moves into Bitcoin funds, altcoin liquidity tends to wake up as well. If this momentum holds into the next week, the setup for XRP gets a serious tailwind and XRP is likely going to fly sky high. Even though we aren't into new all-time high territory, we're getting very close. And now we have people like Adam Back, one of the oldest cryptographers and cypherpunks, essentially an OG of blockchain and digital cash, stated that a $100K Bitcoin is way too cheap and that Bitcoin is extremely likely to go between 500K and 1 million this cycle. And by the way, if that does occur, it's extremely likely that XRP is going to pump between $10 to even $20 this cycle. So I'll be covering all of this in this video, so stick with me because I'll reveal what's really going on with this ETF, what's likely going to occur on the charts, and how you can prepare for it. And before we dive in, if you currently have a Roth IRA or an IRA or even a PCA, you can actually get a free $100 by heading on over to itrustcapital.com/bullrunners. If you don't go through our link down below, you don't get that extra $100 bonus by rolling your IRA over into iTrust Capital. And what's so great about iTrust Capital is that they offer access to all sorts of cryptos that you can hold in essentially your tax advantaged retirement account. They have extremely low fees and no monthly fees or yearly fees. The really small fees only are incurred when you place trades, but that's actually the same on any exchange that you're currently already using. So when you go ahead and fund, you actually have to use the promo code BULLRUN9. And when you do, you'll get a $100 funding bonus. So just be sure to head over to itrustcapital.com/bullrunners or just click that link in the description below to get started trading crypto in your IRA. And if you have any other questions about anything Bull Runners, whether it's Altcoin Pro, our Discord channel, crypto loans, all you have to do is go to our description and just join that Telegram bot, which will get you pointed in the right direction virtually every single time. And without further ado, as always, my friend, if you're feeling blessed and bullish, comment 777. And if you're going to be the wealthiest person in your family tree, smash the subscribe button. Hello and welcome back to the channel, my friend. If you're new here, my name is Paul. You can find me on Twitter or X at PauliDeFi, PAULIEDEFI. Right now, and basically throughout the week, there has been a lot of chatter on these ETFs. Now, this is something that we've known has been coming for quite some time. And as I recently stated, even over on Polymarket, the odds of a Ripple ETF being approved in 2025 in the United States by December 31st are 96%. And when you see these types of odds, it's virtually impossible that it does not happen, which means the majority of the market is confident that it's going to happen, and these people who place these bets almost operate or act like a hive mind. And when you study hives, especially when it comes to betting markets, more often than not, they're right when the odds are this high or in their favor. So that said, we know we're getting an ETF, and I think that is why the market's been rallying pretty strong off of these local lows over at 270, and we've rallied to a new local high of 318 before selling back off to 311. Now, you'll notice that we've actually put in a new range high just above our prior resistance, okay? So notice this little pump and then sell off here. Well, not only that, but we've had support here. And when we broke below the range, we actually resisted here, and in similar fashion, break down hard, back to 270, break back up to the upside, sell off at $3, pump hard, support. So this seems to be our range to be of about 307 on a candle close, and anything above 310 to 312 is going to be new trend bull zone territory. So things are looking pretty good for XRP into this range here. And again, I think that's because major investors are prepping for these ETFs, as 90 crypto ETFs are pending SEC approval, which is led by XRP and Solana. And if anyone remembers, recently in a video, I covered how the CME Group, the largest derivatives market in the world, said XRP is its fastest ETF to $1 billion in history. So that is actually quite huge, and it's only going to continue to grow with a spot ETF approval that will provide more clarity and arguably just more confidence for bigger investors to enter and not feel like it's just some random run-of-the-mill crypto. Because you have to understand, although people on this channel and people on YouTube and XRP investors might already know XRP is a safe and strong asset in the crypto space, a lot of them don't. Maybe they've heard about it, but they think it's like every other crypto. A lot of people don't have the time to do the research that you and I do. So that said, a spot ETF approval in the minds of an institutional investor might say, oh, it's legit. Okay, cool. I'll trade it. Look at the volume. It's growing. It's expanding. And a lot of inflows will come through that, which will be a huge driver of the price. Not only that, but we're talking about the news event as well. So that said, of the 90, you've got quite a few in Solana, few in Litecoin, although many are baskets, some are Bitcoin and Ethereum. Here you have direct XRP 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we're talking by Franklin Templeton, CoinShares, Wisdom Tree, Canary, Bitwise, 21 shares, Grayscale, all major names who want to own a piece of that XRP action. And maybe this explains why Ripple has recently issued another stock buyback, which was massive. They bought back another $1 billion of their own shares in the company Ripple, which is separate from the asset that they hold and the largest asset that they hold, XRP, at $250 a share, up 5% per shareholder. And it's likely they're buying back their own shares because they know a lot of the value of this company is tied to the XRP token. And when the XRP token pumps really hard into an ETF event, the shares of Ripple are also going to grow like crazy, and demand among institutional players will grow with it. Now, the reality is this company does not need to go public. A lot of the times companies go public because they want to raise capital or funds. But Ripple as a company is already extremely profitable, not only on the XRP token, but in their business model, servicing or providing services for all sorts of banks, institutions, through their RLUSD stablecoin, through custodial services, and you name it. Now, that said, we did have this piece of news talking about how the Rex Osprey Spot XRP ETF is set to launch on September 12th. However, that does not look to be the case, as there has been a delay and is now set for September 18th. And it's also important to note that the structure of this particular filing is different from those submitted by issuers like Fidelity, Bitwise, and others. In other words, this isn't a pure XRP spot ETF where they have to hold one XRP for every buyer of this ETF and be custodians to it, but instead they will hold spot. It's just not for for 100% of their holding. So the fund's goal is to almost have all spot exposure, but the documents allow for flexibility to use derivatives as needed. In other words, this is not truly a one-for-one spot ETF. And with the way that it's structured, it might have some tax inconveniences and potentially higher fees. So it's probably looking more like an ETP or an exchange traded product. And already we do have a few of those. Still, we'll see what happens into September 18th because we're still about 5 days away. And so far, the price action is looking really good into this event. And either way, will likely continue to look good into the end of the year whenever we do have not only the end of this potential bull market cycle, which may go into 2026. We may see it cool off sometime January, February, but the end of the year tends to be really strong, and it will be even stronger with an ETF approval. And with these XRP ETFs, the writing is on the wall. As the largest bank in the world, JP Morgan Chase is accepting Bitcoin ETF collateral in order to lend money. And this occurred back in June of 2025. So it's only a matter of time before they accept collateral for other crypto ETFs like Ethereum, eventually XRP, Solana, and more. And with this collateral, banks will essentially hold or be custodians of these ETFs for borrowing and lending, which establishes far more institutional support, stronger hands, and ultimately will be major drivers of the price moving forward. So with this said, it does look like we have our local low coming in at about 274. We never had a dump or a breakdown below the range, and now we are officially in bull territory, considering we just put in a new higher high for the first time above our prior range high of about 312. So unless we see some sort of a major sell-off back below $3, things are looking really good for XRP, and any one of these catalysts, especially the ETF, will likely push this thing past its prior all-time high of about $3.66. So with that said, watch this range closely, and I would even argue just on a daily time frame, if you toss a 10 and 20 EMA on there, you can see that we're currently sitting above the 20 and 10 EMA. We've seen a crossover there. You could potentially look to buy dips somewhere at that $3 range. Totally fine if that occurs over the weekend, but I definitely want to see follow through where the price breaks back up to at least $3.35 for our next range resistance. And when I toss a line on there, you can see that consistently we've seen a decent amount of resistance even going back to January of 2025. So with that said, dips are for buying on something like XRP right now, and it's not a bad time to be adding to your position or bag. Now, that is not financial advice. This is just what I'm seeing on the chart and what I'll be doing. And with that said, if you want to learn more about how to do technical analysis, look at charts, understand what's going on, understand candlesticks at a far deeper level, learn how to use indicators and all sorts of really other cool things, you can join Altcoin Pro University by clicking that link altcoinpro.com and join one of our many community members when it comes to our classes, courses, altcoin picks, everything in DeFi, you name it. The list goes on. And yes, we truly do have members worldwide, a lot of them in the United States, but all over Europe, even in India, in Australia, Thailand, South Africa, and more. And we have one of the highest retentions in this entire platform because the value that they get and arguably the money that they make is far greater than what they pay every single month just by taking advantage of one of these quick win DeFi yield pools that we share weekly. So thanks so much for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe, be sure to like the video, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.